Good morning, Landmark University. We want to call this first webinar program to order this morning. And may I request the chaplain, Landmark University, Pastor Tokwe Johnson, to take us before the Lord Almighty as we take the opening prayer. If we can stand, we can. But if we are not able, we may remain seated. Chaplain, Landmark University, sir.
Praise the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Let's appreciate the name of Jesus this morning for bringing us together. Lord, we thank you. We give you all the glory in the name of Jesus Christ. Father, we thank you for this gathering this morning. We praise your holy name for what you have ordained for this day, for it is written, the Lord, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. We thank you for the joy of the new day. We thank you for the purpose of this meeting. We thank you for the achievement that will be established at the end of it. Lord, we give you all the praise in the name of Jesus Christ. Father, we ask now that you chair this meeting by yourself. Let the Holy Ghost guide all the participants, and at the end of the day, let landmark decision be taken in the name of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Father, we thank you.
Thank you,
In
Lord.
Jesus' mighty name.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Chaplain, Landmark University. May we please be seated for those of us that honored God in standing. My Vice Chancellor, sir, be seated. Right now, we will take the national anthem and Landmark University anthem. University. Good morning, my Vice Chancellor, Professor Adeni Olayanju. Good morning, Landmark University Registrar, Ms. Fola Oyinloye. I welcome us all this morning. The current pandemic hitherto has affected academic activities. We all know this, especially postgraduate students' research. Amidst and even post-COVID-19 lockdown, postgraduate research is hanging precariously in a balance, and therefore calls for attention, calls for urgent intercept, calls for an intentional drive. This morning, noting all of this, the question is, what is the way forward with research? How do we go from here? This morning, Landmark University is having the first webinar discourse. And I want to believe that by the title of this discourse, postgraduate studies research, especially in Nigerian universities, will not remain the same. Now, the title of today's first webinar meeting in Landmark University is COVID-19 and Lockdown Consequences on Postgraduate Research amidst and, of course, post-COVID-19. For this first webinar meeting today, we have scholars in the house. I can see their faces. Some of them are already beaming with smiles to me this morning. They are proven scholars. They are international erudites. They have robust academic pedigree. Landmark University made a good choice of these 5 external facilitators this morning. They are here to unleash their experiences, to unleash their expertise in postgraduate teaching, in postgraduate research, and of course, in formulating policies, ordinances towards impact, towards quality delivery, and of course, ensuring that our researches at the postgraduate level does not hang on the shelves. And of course, also ensure that protocols guiding postgraduate research are followed. All of this are the focus of today's discourse, looking at within, amidst, and post-COVID-19 lockdown. My Vice Chancellor, sir, we have 5 external scholars, like I said earlier on, joining us in this webinar. One is from the National University Commission, representing the NUC today, and that is in the person of the Director, Academic Planning of National University Commission. His name we all know, Dr. Noel Biodun Saliu. He's right here before us. I can see his good face beaming at us. Again, we have the Deputy Vice Chancellor, just immediate past Vice Chancellor, Redeemers University, Nigeria, Professor Kayode Adekeye. Also, we have the Dean, who is of course one of us. In fact, he joined us at exactly 2 minutes after 10. I was tracking them. He joined this sitting this morning. And that is the Dean School of Postgraduate Studies, Covenant University. Our own Professor Abiodun Adebayo is right here with us. I can see his beautiful face, smiling. My pastor, you are welcome, sir. The Director of Research, Federal University of Technology, Akure, is also here with us. That is in the person of Professor Ganiyu Obo. Professor Ganiyu Obo, I can see you also. And now finally, from the external context, we also have the Provost, School of Postgraduate Studies, University of Ibadan. And that is in the person of Professor Jonathan Oyebamiji Babalola. All of them have joined. They are all right here before us. I can see their beautiful faces. and I want to pray my Vice Chancellor this morning that their input into this postgraduate research discourse will go a long way in supporting research for national development in Nigeria, and of course, and beyond. My Vice Chancellor, sir, Professor Adeniyi Olayanju, permit me at this juncture to invite Landmark University Registrar in the person of Ms. Fola Oyiloye to receive and welcome all of us to Landmark University first webinar postgraduate research. My registrar, ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, the Dean School of Postgraduate Studies, Landmark University. The Vice Chancellor, Landmark University, Professor Adeniyi Olayanju, Vice Chancellors of other universities present, permit me especially this morning to welcome the Vice Chancellor, Covenant University, our sister university, Professor A.A.A. Atairo, erudite professors and eminent personalities on the facilitator's role, our host, Dean Landmark University School of Postgraduate Studies, principal officers of Landmark University, the academia, ladies and gentlemen. I consider it an honor to be asked to bring a welcome remark at this very auspicious and novel outing of the university and its School of Postgraduate Studies. It was John C. Maxwell who said, and I quote, "Change is inevitable, growth is optional." About 100 days ago, the world woke up to a new normal that was backed by the outbreak of the coronavirus and its attendant COVID-19 disease. Social distancing, lockdown, isolation, quarantine, precautionary measures, palliatives, personal protective equipment, and so on became common words and phrases globally. Churches, schools, businesses, multinational organizations, and even national governments had to shut down. The mode of work, socialization, commerce, education, church services, greetings, and several other areas of human endeavors are daily evolving as they are being visited by this change. Denying this change that has come to be a part of our daily lives and refusing to accept the new normal will be playing the fool and setting the pace for stagnation and a total disconnect from the changing world. Noting, as readily observed by a renowned leadership coach, that issues are the greatest enemies of possibilities. Landmark University is an aspiring leading world-class university that is adaptable to change. And so we know that whenever the wind of change blows, the onus rests on us to position ourselves to dive into the wind of change and so on our wings as eagles. For us, our approach to this imminent change has been intentional. We're intentional about growing and making progress despite the pandemic. We're intentional about not maintaining the status quo. We're intentional about shunning mediocrity and intentional about accepting and managing this change. And this is in consonance with the spontaneity with which several universities in the Western world also responded to the outbreak of the coronavirus and its attendant disease, COVID-19, as garnered from Antonio Arturo Fernandez et al. In their research publication, Academic Leadership in a Time of Crisis, the Coronavirus and COVID-19 2020. In the past 100 days thereabout, since the pandemic broke out globally, we at Landmark University have transposed our activities from our brick and mortar venues to the virtual world, hence virtual classes for our students, virtual staff training sessions, virtual recruitment exercises, virtual meetings, and so on. It is no wonder, therefore, that the School of Postgraduate Studies, under the leadership of its proactive, pragmatic, and forward-looking Dean, Professor Charity Aremu, has also deemed it necessary at a time such as this to explore the consequences of the pandemic and subsequent lockdown on postgraduate research, as well as look at what the future of postgraduate research will be after now. The world, and that includes the world of research, would definitely not be the same again after this incident. And as rightly said by Alvin Toffler, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Today, therefore, we are here to attain literacy, 21st century literacy, as we learn, unlearn, and relearn under the tutelage of erudite professors and eminent personalities, the new normal in carrying out postgraduate research, what it is now and what it will be post-COVID-19. I'm excited to be a part of this and expectant to take home new knowledge. I'm intentional about managing change. I'm deliberate about advancing in the midst of change. And I'm sure that we all are, and that is why we're here today. I therefore wish to encourage everyone who has proposed to be here at this webinar to please pay rapt attention, watch out for that catching up moment, and get set for that ruffling of the nest and turn around in our approach to carrying out postgraduate research. Without any doubt, it is indeed a new dawn. And on this note, I want to thank all of you for being a part of this webinar and welcome you on behalf of the Landmark University community. On this auspicious occasion, please permit me to bring up the Vice Chancellor, Landmark University, Professor Adeniyi Olayanju, for his word of welcome. The Vice Chancellor, sir.
Thank you, Madam Registrar. Let me officially, on behalf of the Chancellor of this great university, Dr. David Oyedepo, and that of the host of this webinar, the Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies of Landmark University, Professor Charity Aremu, welcome you all to this webinar. Let me especially appreciate our facilitators for accepting to be part of this webinar, this epoch-making event. Permit me to share my screen. The Vice Chancellor, Covenant University, Professor Aderemi Atayero. The Registrar, Landmark University, Ms. Funke Oyinloye. The Director of Academic Planning, National University Commission, Abuja, Dr. Noel Biodun Sali. The immediate past Deputy Vice Chancellor, Redeemer University, Ede, Professor Kayode S. Adekeye. The Provost, School of Postgraduate Studies, the University of Ibadan, Professor Jonathan O. Babalola. The Dean, Postgraduate Studies, Covenant University, Ota, Professor Biodun Adebayo. The Director of Research, Federal University of Technology, Akure, Professor Gani Obo. Of course, our host, the Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies, Landmark University, Professor Charity Oyinye Aremu. Other participants from all walks of life, our postgraduate students, our colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor and privilege to welcome you to the maiden webinar event of Landmark University School of Postgraduate Studies. This program is organized to harness solution-driven intellectual perspectives to the current global DL situation occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic in relation to the postgraduate research engagement and that of accomplishment. The theme of this webinar is COVID-19 and lockdown consequences on postgraduate research. I appreciate the Dean School of Postgraduate Studies, Professor Charity Aremu, and our team for this initiative that further underscores uncompromising quest of Landmark as a basin where rigorous academic activities mingle with research engagements of the scholars to deliver impactful services to the society. Essentially, universities as ivory towers and knowledge factories need to provide leadership for society in solving problems through their objectives. The role of faculty members are closely tied to the central functions of university. Therefore, how the cardinal responsibilities of teaching, research, and community services are performed in recent time has suddenly changed. We cannot deny the fact that outbreak of COVID-19 and its attendant varying degree of lockdown regime across the world has constrained the traditional approach of actualizing universities' mandate. It's called tripodal mandate of knowledge generation through research, knowledge impartation through teaching, and of course, knowledge application through community services. In face of rapidly changing world, therefore, university must adapt to prove their onions. There cannot be a better time for universities to re-evaluate the research model. Reality unveiled by the COVID-19 situation has provoked interrogation of the appropriateness or otherwise of the strategy and the tactics that we are employing to reach our goals. Every nation must aspire to focus the education of its mind on identifying and solving the challenges it faces. If you do not challenge yourself, you will never realize what you can become. The time is right for us, therefore, to positively examine research-related challenges that we face in universities, particularly at postgraduate level, and maximize opportunities therein. It is important to know that all countries strive to have top universities that can compete and cooperate at the highest level with the intent of transforming the broader society and the economy. In line with the mission of Landmark University, we hold the perspective of education as a rigorous application of the mind in pursuit of knowledge that addresses societal challenges, which underpins the drive for this webinar. A team of erudite scholars have been carefully selected to bring to bear the intellectual acuity on the topic COVID-19 and lockdown consequences on postgraduate research, by way of making tangible contributions in expanding the frontiers of knowledge and improvement of the human situation. I believe that at the end of this webinar, leaders of higher education institutions, policymakers, and other stakeholders will have a take-home and be better prepared on addressing the issue. I therefore acknowledge every input that has gone into hosting this memorable webinar and congratulate the University School of Postgraduate Studies for setting the pace in this regard. As a university community, we are indeed grateful to our Chancellor and Chairman Board of Regents, Dr. David Oyedepo, for giving us the privilege of service and an awesome support to excel. It is on this note that I welcome you all to the webinar. Even as I say, come down with us and we are ready to do you good, for the Lord has spoken good concerning us. I wish us a very wonderful and fruitful deliberation. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, my Vice Chancellor. I wish we can all put our hands together for my own Vice Chancellor. That is Landmark University Vice Chancellor. Shortly before then, you listen to the Landmark University Registrar. Indeed, Landmark is an amazing place. You must visit. Don't remain on this virtual space. Ensure you create time to be part of us. See what we are doing. It goes beyond the talking. We do the talk. In doing the talk this morning, I want to take clue from the presentations from my Vice Chancellor and Registrar. Landmark University is intentional in our approaches. And that is why COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown, we are here to take intentional steps. I mean, deliberate steps towards ensuring that postgraduate research remains ongoing with quality output. This morning, permit me to take further inspiration from two leadership mentors that I know. I know John Maxwell. I know David Olaniyi-Oyedepo. They have spoken so much on leadership. This morning, the question is, the leadership in us, are we ready to unravel using this COVID-19 webinar meeting? As a leader, we must take responsibility. As a leader, we are answerable to expectations and challenges. As a leader, we must be proactive. We take proactive steps. We prepare ahead tasks. We prepare ahead challenges. Dear facilitators, dear participants, this morning, Landmark University Postgraduate School is ready to prepare ahead COVID-19, to prepare even in the midst of this COVID-19 in driving postgraduate research towards enviable, impactful, result-producing end. That at the end of the day, Nigeria, and of course, Africa, and the entire globe will be better for it. Let me remind us of the title once again, COVID-19 and lockdown consequences on postgraduate research within and of course post-COVID-19. We will start up this morning engaging our leaders, going by the definition I just provided by John Maxwell and David Oyedepo. I want to set the ball rolling with the permission of my Vice Chancellor this morning, as I invite the Director, Academic Planning, National University Commission, Abuja. He is a pastor, but this is an academic meeting. I won't bring up his pastoral profile. Let me limit it to his scholastic profile. This morning, I want to bring up Dr. Noel Biodun Saliu. He will be taking us on the role of NUC in supporting postgraduate research. Despite this lockdown, what is NUC doing? What are the works? What are the preparations? And then what are the giveaways to Nigerian universities from the platform of NUC? And again, my dear Director of Academic Planning, you will also bring to the fore the implications of this COVID-19 lockdown as it affects academic planning in Nigeria. Before you come up, permit me to also lay down the guiding ordinances for this meeting. Every participant is welcomed by the Registrar and Vice Chancellor. You may please take down your notes, prepare your questions, and roll them out using the chat platform. But ensure as you put down your questions, put your name and where you are coming from. That will help us to adequately recognize you and then, of course, bring up your concern, bring up your contributions on postgraduate research amidst and beyond COVID-19. Every speaker, every facilitator here this morning will be having 10 minutes to unleash their expertise and their discourse with us. After which, the 5 facilitators must have spoken. We will take up a few minutes to admit chats, to admit questions, to admit your contributions to this first webinar meeting. Permit me also to say here that we have a repertoire that will harness all of our input. and then released to us as a communique that will help drive postgraduate studies in Nigeria. So please prepare your questions, prepare your puzzles, prepare your information, prepare your contributions as we bring up each presenter to make his presentation. Following Dr. Noel Abiodun, my deputy past Vice Chancellor, Redeemers University, gets set, followed again by my Covenant University DSPS, and then we will bring up, that is Professor Abiodun, after which Professor Gani Obo, and then lastly, we will take my Dean, my Provost, University of Ibadan, School of Postgraduate Studies. So in this order, our 5 external facilitators will be unleashing their sound academic discourse in this first webinar meeting, happening live and direct, virtually, in Landmark University. Thank you, Professor Noel Abiodun Salim. You have the platform.
Thank you very much. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
All right.
We can see our dear Executive Secretary, Professor Abubakar Rashid.
Let me start my presentation by bringing you greetings from ES, Professor Abubakar Rashid, the Executive Secretary, and the entire staff of the Commission. And I must also show appreciation to the Vice Chancellor of Landmark University, Professor Adeniyi Olayanju.
Thank you.
And indeed, all the principal officers of Landmark University and staff for organizing this event for me, which is very apt at this time, at this moment in time. I must also single out the Dean of PG Studies. She's been in touch with me all this while, so to permit me to also express appreciation to her for all she has been doing in preparation for this webinar. It will be out of place for me not to also appreciate my co-facilitators. They are all known faces. So I really thank God that I'm in a familiar terrain, and I hope I'm going to have a very lovely time this morning. Now, talking about the role of NUC with respect to postgraduate research, particularly in this time, and as it relates to academic planning, it will be instructive for me to start from the platform of what the NUC is all about. The NUC, as we all know, started as an office in the then cabinet office of the then Prime Minister, 1962, and it became a statutory organization in 1974. Its overall mandate is to ensure the orderly development of university education in Nigeria. And we noticed that at the time the commission was established in 1962, there were only 5 universities in Nigeria. And by the time it became a statutory body in 1974, we had 6 universities total in Nigeria. But ironically, a year after it became a statutory body, the entire population of Nigeria, number of universities in Nigeria increased to 13. So we can see how the establishment of the commission and other developments within the country spearheaded the growth and development of university education in Nigeria. As we stand today, we have 172 universities in Nigeria with different proprietorship. Now, coming to the role of the NUC in the support of postgraduate research in Nigerian universities, I would take that from the mandate of the commission, which is to ensure the coordination of the orderly development of university education in Nigeria. And this affects postgraduate education as well as postgraduate research. So if you look at this overall mandate of the commission now found it necessary to establish a Department of Research and Postgraduate Development in 1987, because they felt that there should be a focus on postgraduate development and research. And the Department of Research and Postgraduate Development has witnessed various transformations and over the years, and now exists as a Directorate of Research and Innovation and information technology in the commission. So the commission's functions as it relates to postgraduate development and studies, as well as research, include the following. First is to coordinate and promote the development of institutional and system-wide research policies and the establishment of research administration offices and intellectual property and patent offices in Nigerian universities. And this, the commission has been related with different organizations relating with Nigerian universities to ensure in the system. We also work closely with the NOTAP, that's the National Office for Technology Acquisition and Transfer in Nigeria. And then the commission also coordinates and monitors research centers and also develop database of research activities, theses, research abstracts, and output in Nigerian universities. All these, many of our Nigerian universities in Nigeria will know that from time to time we seek information to put together this database from them. And then we also promote a culture of development-oriented research in Nigerian universities through the creation of a management of a central research fund, and then the commercialization of research output through intellectual property and patents and strong linkage with it. Is something that the commission has taken to the next level, because we have signed a memorandum of understanding with the Nigerian Economic Social Group, NESG, which is the umbrella arm of the social of the private sector, for us to be able to have a seamless link with the industry. Next is the fostering of collaboration and linkages. This has been a venture that has been on for a very long time, and we also have this linkages with Nigerian universities and foreign universities and the industries pertaining to the enrollment of best practices in research and innovation in the Nigerian university system. And related to this is the encouragement of universities to develop their ICT policies, because we believe that a strong ICT base will definitely be a strong a formidable springboard for postgraduate studies and indeed research in the system. And then the promotion of effective deployment of ICT in teaching, learning, and community engagement, which is the general mandate of university education in Nigeria. And specifically, when it comes to postgraduate research and postgraduate development, the Commission has been involved with specific projects like the Nigerian University's Doctoral Thesis Award Scale. This is where we pull out best theses from the Nigerian universities, and we set up a panel of experts that look at them and rank them. And in a well-publicized event, the best theses are given awards during this period. We also have what we call the Nigerian Universities and Development Fair. This fair is to help us showcase the research efforts of Nigerian universities, because many of the times what Nigerians are often informed about the system is about the ease of the system. We know there are a lot of goods in the system that need to be showcased out there, and so that informed the need for the for NURESDEV, which help us to showcase these to those who are interested, and indeed the general public and the private sector. For some time, we have been a challenge with getting good representation of the private sector during this fair, but now it has helped with the linkage and the collaboration we have with NESG. The next outing, we believe, will not be the same. I've talked about linkage as part of, or linkages rather, as part of the efforts of the NUC with respect to postgraduate development and research in the system. The Commission also has worked with Nigerian universities to have the establishment of the African Centers of Excellence in Nigeria. So far, Nigeria has the highest number of these centers of excellence across the Nigerian university system. And this is a World Bank sponsored project. And I remember that at the time we were bidding for this, in fact, we had to call for proposals from universities and work together with a committee to help them put this proposal through. And at the end of the day, we had the greatest outing with respect to those being sponsored with respect on the centers of excellence. This has also been one of the specific projects. The next one is our relationship with the Committee of Deans of Postgraduate Schools in Nigerian universities. I mean, often as the deans of PG school meet, we also are involved in this meeting. From time to time, they invite us to make presentations at this meeting. I will, at this point, quickly go to, if I still have some time, quickly go to my next part of the presentation, which will focus on what the Commission is doing with respect to collaboration with NCDC on research. Many of us in the university system will know that following the pandemic, the zeal or the need for coordinated research has become imperative. And this led to the NUC, TED Fund, and the NCDC to come together with other stakeholders to form a research consortium, which is going to be looking at different research with respect to COVID-19 and then funding them, looking for, avenues where such research could be funded, and then we can have tangible results from our research domains, particularly the Nigerian university system, to take care of this pandemic. We will also recall that recently we have sent out a call for expression of interest on RDT, that is rapid diagnostic test validation. That is the first step we're having with respect to this consortium. And apart from that, there are different thematic areas that will be addressed during this period, but then they'll be coming from time to time. But the first one is the validation of the RDTs. Besides these efforts, Nigerian universities on their own have been carrying out research despite the lockdown, and evidence abound everywhere to show that these things have been going on. And what we have been doing at the moment to show that universities, despite the lockdown, are still working, is that we'll send notices to universities to give us even their efforts with respect to research during this period. And we have received quite a number of submissions from universities, which the Commission has actually also is compiling now to also put together as the Nigerian university system effort with respect to COVID-19 in this time. I will also want to briefly look at the NUC's role in encouraging research despite this lockdown. One of the ways we have tried to have a solution to the current pandemic is to encourage research, and that is a given anywhere in the world. If you look at different countries at this moment, research is ongoing, even though restriction of movement is there, at the point where we in the NUC felt that researchers should also be seen as essential service providers, so that the lockdown will not really affect them. But unfortunately, we couldn't get them into this. But then, whichever way we look at it, research in some ways or the other, or some forms, are still going on with respect to COVID-19 in Nigerian universities. The only problem is that at this point, the quantum of research that we have is not as high as what it would have been under a normal condition. But the most important thing here, we believe that we need to be safe first to be able to conduct appropriate research. So we continue to encourage that research could go on under this pandemic, and appropriate precautions must be taken by researchers at this point to also ensure that they carry out their research under safe environment. Lastly, because of the time I have, I'll be looking at the PG students kind of go on despite this stalemate of lockdown with respect to research. I feel they shouldn't have any cause to worry, because it is only somebody who's living that can also carry out research or do PG studies. Some PG students whose research are through questionnaires, interviews, focal group discussions, no doubt could still carry on their research from the comfort of their homes, because they can administer their questionnaires online, they can have their interviews online if they should choose to, they can have their focal group discussions online. And I will just be encouraging them to do so. Those who have to go to the lab, of course, again, if the lockdown prevents you from going to the lab, you have to wait until the time the lockdown is lifted. We are believing God that very soon this will be over and we can have access to our normal life as we go on. So they could also access online materials to help and facilitate their write-up during this period. For academic planning work, we may not be able to do much at this time, but we are still rendering skeletal services. I mean, today, like government declared, is like a Wednesday. It's one of the days that will come to the office. So it's been a major challenge. We've been having trickles of requests and work or letters coming from universities. We've been working on them with the number of student, available workers we have in the commission, because only staff from levels 14 and above could actually be at work at the moment. We are also hoping that this will soon be over and we can go back to run our academic planning work with effectiveness and efficiency. So on this note, I just want to say once again, thank you for giving me the opportunity to make this presentation at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We have all listened to National University Commission, and I'm sure we must have taken down some notes, some key points, especially those of us that will be interested in asking some questions. Please note your questions, put your name. A time will come that we request that you raise your hands and we will identify you. You unmute yourself, you can ask your question. You unmute yourself, please note that after raising your hand and we identify you and you ask your questions. We have listened to him, Dr. Noel Biodosali. Thank you for reminding us again what NUC stands for. Thank you for bringing us again to the fore, to the knowledge of your linkages you have, especially with the Committee of Deans of Postgraduate Studies in Nigeria. And I know shortly there's going to be a meeting in Ilorin. We'll be expecting to meet you there also. And then you also have relationship with African Center for Excellence. Very soon, Landmark University will have one, and we will expect your input in this regard. We have noted your contributions, and I know all other participants have also noted all of this. When time comes, we'll be able to put ourselves to test. Right now, we'll be bringing up the immediate past Deputy Vice Chancellor, Redeemers University, Nigeria, Professor Kayode Adekeye. Professor Kayode Adekeye, can we see your face in the house? Thank you. You're already sharing with us your topic, institutional role in driving postgraduate research during a lockdown like this. Yes. What is your institution bringing on board? And you will also tell us, this is looking at your interface. What is your interface between faculty, or whom we call lecturers, between your students, and of course, between your staff? The staff in this regard may be the laboratory technologists and all of the assistants. What is your institutional role? Professor Kayode Adekeye, please take up the platform.
Thank you very much, the host. I hope you can hear my voice.
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, and I'm sure other participants are also.
Professor Adini, for giving me this opportunity to be a part of these erudite professors and the facilitators, and to be part of the history that Landmark University is making this day. Of course, I appreciate the proactiveness of the Dean of School of Postgraduate Studies of Landmark University, Professor Aremu Charity, for leading in this particular area, that is bringing discussion on how to continue and how to improve postgraduate research, even amidst this pandemic. I bring greetings from Redeemers University, from the Vice Chancellor, Professor Anthony Ellison, and the entire Redeemer University community. Let me say quickly that Redeemers University, Ede, owes the Africa
Please help me out. Nothing is what.
For Africa Center of Excellence for Genomics of Infectious Diseases. And the center has been the forefront in making sure that we flatten the curve. Of course, when we started this war against COVID-19 in Nigeria, Redeemers University happened to be one of the 5 centers in Nigeria where samples were tested to confirm positiveness or otherwise of a Nigerian citizen. Having said that, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to also say that I appreciate the entire Landmark University community for bringing this very important discourse webinar into the fore and making history as the first university to hold a webinar on postgraduate research. My topic, institutional role in driving postgraduate research during national lockdown. I've put my lectures into 3 phases, or under 3 different segments. The first segment is just to talk about the facts about COVID-19. And of course, to look at what postgraduate research looks like, and then finally to discuss about the institutional role as to fight against this war. The first thing is the fact on COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, we know that COVID-19 has changed the narrative of the world. It has changed the way we think. It has changed the way we react. It has changed the way we even interact. And so it is a war. It is the Third World War. Third World War where we are not carrying gun or we are not carrying cutlasses or whatever, but a war that has put all of us to change our narratives. And therefore, we discovered that in this, for us to be able to win this war, we must change, and change. And that is why you see that the PTF on daily basis give review as to what we're supposed to do. And so our operational modus operandi have changed, and we must look at our existence and coexistence and make some significant changes for us to be relevant and remain afloat during this particular period. Postgraduate research. Talking about postgraduate, we start from the diploma, we talk about the master's, and then we talk about the PhD. We must understand that unlike the undergraduate research, postgraduate research should be problem-driven. It should be providing solutions to problems in our immediate community, and by the immediate community we mean the location of the university, the local government, the state, the nation, and of course the globe. The globe in these days, of course, because we are in a global village, the entire world remains as our immediate community. And therefore, when we are talking about postgraduate research, it must be problem-driven. We must be seen to be addressing a particular problem and trying to show solution to that particular problem. Also, we must know this, that postgraduate research must be based on the principle of what I call SMART-T. SMART as being what we used to talk about, but I'm introducing two other ways to it. That's what I'm talking about, SMART T principle. The I and the E introduce the I stand for inspirational. Inspirational, and E stand for emotion. At this particular period of COVID-19 pandemic, and for us to drive research, those two words must come into the objectives that drives our research. It must be inspirational because we are experiencing for the first time a kind of virus that we have never, that is unprecedented. Nobody understands the behavior of COVID-19 virus. It mutates, it changes its pattern, it changes its behavior continuously. Therefore, there's need for inspiration. And emotional, because we must be emotional to drive postgraduate research if we must get results that will assist the globe to get out of this problem. What are the features and characteristics that a researcher, a postgraduate researcher must have? I have put here on the four segments what we need to put. What we need to have. One is that a PG researcher must be creative. It must be innovative. It must have the ability of critical thinking. Two, there must be good negotiating skills. Three, good communication skills and good marketing strategies. Why am I putting this? Because research is not supposed to be, the product of research is not supposed to be put on the shelf. It's supposed to be something that we market. And for you to market, you must have good communication skill, and you must also have good negotiating skills. So these are embedded, and this is one of the directions in which we must go nowadays to look at, to make sure that our researchers have these attributes. There's a video that I think I want to share. Host, can you please, is it possible for you to share that video?
You need to unshare, then you can now share it by yourself.
Okay, then I can share it by myself.
Yes, sir.
All right. I will try that. Because of the time, I will still go on.
Hello, my professor.
Yes, please.
Professor Dekaye.
Can you share it to me, or can I share from here?
Don't worry, on share, we will share for you from here.
Okay, thank you. So I will share then there. No problem.
Redeemer University.
Is he on?
You have not unshared yourself. Stop sharing.
Oh.
Scream and shout. The good book says in 2 Chronicles 15, be strong. Do not give up, for your hard work will be rewarded. If you quit now, all your struggles will have been for nothing. Scream and shout if you must, but do not quit. Remember these words and keep saying them to yourself. No matter how bad it is or how bad it gets, you're going to make it.
All right, thank you. Now, when you look at that video, we discover that there are one fundamental thing there. And that fundamental thing is that we must not quit as a researcher. You see that if you listen carefully, if you need to cry, cry. If you need to shout, shout. If you need to scream, scream. For you to be able to get to the top and to get the goal of your research, you must do all things. Don't give up. It could be frustrating. Getting results sometimes could be frustrating, but never give up. Keep on using everything that you have to make sure that you get the goal of your goal of the research. Now, the protocols of national leader. Why am I bringing this on board? We all know it, so I'm going to skip this slide. But I put someone in green, the first one. Stay at home, stay and work at home. Then the all other ones are, if you cannot stay and work at home, then you have to do the remaining three, wear face mask and so on, because it's very important when it comes to postgraduate research. Now, institutional role. Institutional role, I've divided this into 5 different lengths. Because what is an institution? An institution is not a campus, it's not a building. it is we that drives that institution. So the management team I put at the center, they are the one that drives an institution. And then we're talking about institutional role on postgraduate research. The management team have a significant role to play. So I will base my institutional role based on each of those segments that I have: the PD board, the advisors and the PD lecturers, the administrative and technical staff, and then of course the students themselves. The management, what is the role of into
Professor Dekaye, I believe you are on top of this challenge. Hello, Prof. Professor Dekaye. Professor Dekaye, can you hear me? Sorry, participants, it's a switch from his end. I believe he's on top of it.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
While we wait for him.
Yes, my Vice Chancellor, sir.
I said while we wait for him.
Yes, sir.
We need to call in this.
Let's play our video now.
I'm back.
Are you back, sir?
Yes, I'm back now.
Oh, great to have you back, Professor Dekaye. Please.
Thank you so much.
Go on.
All right. So we must review our research protocols from time to time. This is very important. There is no straitjacket protocols under this lockdown. And that is why you discover that we are the PTF also review the protocols, but we must also review the protocols of our research from time to time. Also, there's a need to have a memorandum of understanding or memorandum of
Professor Dekaye, can you hear me?
Between the university and the industry, and of course,
greatly advanced career prospects here at Landmark University School of Postgraduate Studies.
Remove. What's your comment?
Any problem?
Yes.
All right. Then I want to say this.
Professor Dekaye. Professor Dekaye.
The network is down.
Jesus is Lord. Professor Dekaye, sir. Please, anyone not on the platform to please mute yourself.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You may need to ask him to address the challenge, why probably we allow him to present last.
Maybe to round up later. All right, sir. So I go ahead and bring up the next presenter, sir.
To share his screen.
That's the challenge.
except DSPS, I mean, DCSIS can assist over there.
Can you unshare for me?
To impact the society using our own postgraduate students. Now, let me tell you this. There are so many postgraduate schools in Nigeria and across the globe, but the postgraduate school in Landmark University is one to watch out for because of the things.
Vice Chancellor, sir.
Yes, I'm bored.
Okay, very good. Professor Adekaye, you may need to bring up the summary.
Yes, I'm
bring
going
up
to
the summary. Yes, during wrap up, we may still permit you to add one or two things.
Okay, thank you. Let me just round up that. Yes. So the PG board has their role to play, as you can see on this slide. Then also we have the advisor, which is supervisor, they have their role. The students also have their own role to play. Now, let me just give this last word I picked this particular word from University of Pretoria, so it is not my word, but I won't be claimed for plagiarism. It's a word of answers. If the path ends, we start a new one. If there is no tool for what we want to do, we create one. If there is no formula to solve a problem, we write one. And that is the way to go at this period of pandemic when it comes to postgraduate research. We must allow this to drive us, and I want to be sure that once we don't stop and we don't give up, and we are ready to use a word for answers, a philosophy, then we'll be at the right place as we expected. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Kayode Adekaye. We appreciate the passion at which you made this presentation this morning. You've been able to inspire us and create academic emotions, research emotions, noting your I and your E. I believe everyone, especially our postgraduate students here on board this virtual meeting, I believe you are taking notes and recall that this meeting is essentially for you and your research. Please take note. Thank you very much. The third presenter now will be bringing up the Dean. I mean the Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies, Covenant University. Professor Abiodun Adebayo. My professor, sir, and Dean, can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you very clearly.
Thank you so much. We want to welcome the presence of Covenant University to Landmark University. And we appreciate your presence this morning. I know my Vice Chancellor, Professor A.A. Atayero, is backing you up this morning. And I know the graces there are sufficient for all of us. So you have the floor, my Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies, Covenant University.
Thank you so much. I hope I can share from here.
Please go ahead.
All right, let me share my slide. I'm sure everyone can see my slide now.
Oh yes, clear.
All right. The Vice Chancellor, Landmark University, Professor Adeni Olayanju. My own Vice Chancellor is also, I'm sure he has joined, Professor A.A. Atayero.
Let me confirm.
PVC is here also, Professor Akan Williams. The Registrar of Landmark, I also appreciate you. And the host Dean, Professor Charity Aremu, we really appreciate what you are doing. And other management staff of Landmark University. I'm also not forgetting the presence of Dr. Noel Saliu, all the way from NUC. I'm excited you're on this platform, and I'm sure quite a lot of questions will be coming because a number of persons, a number of us here are excited to have you as part of the co-facilitators. Now, we also have the chair of the Committee of Deans and Provost of PG School, that is Professor Babalola. It's glad to see you on this platform. And let me also observe all other protocols that have been duly established this morning. By way of appreciating everyone, particularly the Vice Chancellor, Landmark University, I'd like to appreciate you for this very wonderful initiative. I'm sure this is the very first webinar that Landmark is hosting. And by extension, maybe looking at the Nigerian university systems, I'm sure Landmark is coming up with this webinar, and it is apt at this time of national lockdown. And also appreciate the host Dean for giving me this platform and privilege to be part and parcel of those facilitating today. My presentation has been centered on 4 domains. That is, I'm going to look at the overview of COVID-19 generally under maybe 1 minute. I'm done with that. And also, by extension, I'm also going to be looking at what is currently happening in the world. What is the world saying with respect to research? What are the world-class universities talking about? How have they been able to address this national lockdown? Because we are also going to be drawing inspiration from that. I was glad when Professor Adekeye, all the way from Dimas University, brought about emotions and inspiration here. So we are going to be drawing from the inspiration of these world-class universities and see how we can fit in properly as our institutions may allow for that. And thereafter, we will look at what Covenant is doing during this lockdown and how we can also draw inspiration from that and conclude. But by way of starting, you all recall that the outbreak of coronavirus, popularly known as COVID-19, was first reported in faraway China, Wuhan to be precise, sometimes in November 2019. And that has affected drastically all phases of the world economy. Are you talking about health, education? Everywhere is affected at the moment. As of this morning, when I updated my slides, we have over 5.5 million cases of COVID-19 already identified worldwide, and over 350 deaths have been recorded so far. And what of Nigeria here? Over 8,300 cases have been identified. As of this morning, precisely 8,344 cases of persons who had either been affected by this COVID-19. And the number of deaths in Nigeria stands at 249 as reported by the PTL. Now, and again, all schools, including universities, research centers, are currently under lockdown by the Ministry of Education since March 23rd, 2020. Then what do we make of this? How do we make of what? Now let's look at what the world-class universities are doing. But let us know that even the world-class universities, as shown here by the Times Higher Education ranking, they are also affected. They are currently under lockdown right now. So no, everyone is affected. Every university is affected. So Nigeria is not the only country that is currently affected. But let's quickly look at some concerns of some researchers across the globe, as reported by ResearchGate. Now, Dragan Marikovic from the University of Novi Sad, sometimes in March, posted this question: what is the impact of COVID-19 on your research and academic activities? Maybe I just look at a few of them here. He was saying, he said, describe the impact of a situation caused by pandemic of coronavirus on your research academy, and explain your action in a way to stay focused on science and preparing for writing and all of that. Here we have this fellow, Timbelo Maguga, from the University of Limpopo. He said, this scary pandemic has had devastating effects on research, as the postgraduate students in medical science should be busy in the laboratories investigating about COVID-19, alternative diagnostics, and possible remedies, are currently sitting at home. The proposals have been written and reviewed by supervisors through online communication and waiting ethical approval. The big question is, when will the researchers start with traction and conduct research? You see, that's a major challenge that he is currently having, and venture virtually everyone in our research endeavor here. We also have this here, very interesting, we said, from Nikola Todorovic. He said, a very interesting situation. Studies with people are limited and impossible. On the other hand, there may be a lot of review studies or laboratory studies published. The student, myself included, are maybe the most affected because they are suspended for a moment in their education and left and for self-education. We can go on and on and on with this. But again, if we look at this, the concerns, and vis-a-vis look at what the universities are currently doing, definitely we may be able to have something to take home from here. Now, if we take a trip to Oxford University, mind you, Oxford is currently #1 in the ranking where we showed earlier on, University of Oxford. But here is equally affecting the assessment and examinations of their students, and they have taken proactive steps. But if you permit me to also read through here, what are the plans for exams and assessment in Trinity term? Just like you have your first term or second term, so just they have it in one of the terms as Trinity term here. And this is what the institution's management have come up with. There will be no conventional exams in this Trinity term. The arrangement will be as follows, and they began to highlight that the majority of examination for the first year undergraduate will be cancelled. They are beginning to cancel exams now, sir. And students will be deemed to have passed. The only exceptions are law and medicine, where assessment will be rearranged for professional qualification reasons. For all second, third year, and first year MPhil will be deferred into the next academic session. The only exceptions are those in their third year undergraduate exam, which need to go ahead because they are taken by a mix of continuing and leaving students. Now, are we proposing this? Well, it is left for the institution to decide, but that may not really work for us here. Now, but if you look at the final year undergraduate and that of third postgraduate exams will be replaced with alternative forms of assessment in the Trinity term. This will take the form of either open books, book versions of papers, longer pieces of work completed over several days, or a mix of the two. Now you can go on and read further details there. It has also affected their thesis submission, but however, thesis submission is still ongoing. Viva is still ongoing in Oxford University. But if you look at MIT, for instance, as at March 13th, 2020, this was posted here and giving them the students the guidelines for graduate students, advisors, and supervisors in response to COVID-19. And let me just read an extract here. It says graduate students who are able to conduct research remotely, that is online, should make arrangement with the advisors and supervisors to do so. So the role of supervisors, the role of advisors are key in times like this. The policy is in accordance with those announced for postdoc, research staff, undergraduate research, which is based on current understanding of rapid evolving serious public health concern and is subject to change. And the COVID-19 Research Community Group and Office of the Vice President Research are developing resources that offer technical guidance on laboratories. So that's what is happening at MIT right now. And they had gone ahead to mention that they recognize the cases where conducting research requires one to be present on their own campus, the MIT campus. For example, when equipment, instrumentation, or experiments in progress must remain operational in order to ensure safety. At present, graduate students and other researchers may conduct research on campus if necessary, meaning that depending on where the students are living or the graduate students are living, so they have also opened their doors to allow these persons to conduct their research, particularly if their health will not be endangered. And again, it will be subject to the supervisor's approval. We can go on and on. This is from University of Maryland. Advice for remote dissertation and thesis defenses. They have also gone remotely. They are now defending their thesis from home. I'm sure that may be strange this morning to a number of persons listening to me this morning. They are beginning to defend their thesis from home. And all they need to do is to set up the appropriate guidelines that will enable them to do this, and which is what they have done here. Now, this is also at Harvard. Harvard had to review their own. Before, they were not doing, there was nothing like remote thesis defense, but they just had to do that. Now, you can see here, Zoom video conferencing is recommended for all such oral examinations and meetings. So, Nigeria cannot be exceptional here. We must move with the change. We must move with what is happening. So in order not to lose so much, and as students, we need to also benefit. In Ohio State University, the same thing. They have set up guidelines for video conferencing relating to master's and doctoral examinations, particularly oral examinations. So, and this is Queen's University, procedures for holding thesis examination remotely, an updated guide for COVID-19 pandemic. That's what the university management, the university management had been able to come up with in order to cushion the effect of this pandemic on the graduate research and the students as maybe. I'll recommend this to all graduate students this morning. This is Alisa Frederick, who defended her thesis remotely before the coronavirus outbreak, sometimes in November 2019. And this was published in Nature on 30th of March 2020 in their career column. Now, she shared her experiences, what students need to do in driving this remote defense. If they are going to defend online, this is what they are expected to do. Now, if we go on and on, we can look at what roles of institutions are in driving postgraduate research, particularly in this period. And I have set the following roles. One, that management expected to provide the right ambience. The environment must be conducive enough. We don't need to start struggling with internet facilities and others before this has to be. The right policy must be in place, and we must be able to be ready to switch without bureaucratic bottlenecks. That is, question I'm going to pose here is that, do you need to get permission from, maybe NUC is here this morning, before you start doing that, even the Senate of your university, the council or the board to allow this switch? Amendment of relevant policy will be key for this to work. The next role here is that we must be able to move away from traditions. We are aware that some professors and some of our faculty members are still tied down to tradition. They want to work with hard copies. They want to read thesis, except it is hard, they will not read. Oh, I can't read a thesis except hard copy. The world has left you behind. Oh, I cannot use, I'm not familiar with any of this connectivity, this platform, Zoom, Skype, and what have you. You will be left behind if you don't move from this tradition. Oh, in Senate meeting, some might even pose a threat to even the management. So this can never happen in this university. You better look at what the world is doing and migrate and switch appropriately. It has never happened in my 20 years of being a professor. Some may say this, students will have to do an online Viva. The world has changed and we must be able to move away from tradition. Next is the training and making available facilities for video conferences. Noting that this has become imperative for us to be able to fit in and order not to allow our students to be stored during this moment, so that it will drastically not affect the students. The management must train and retrain the faculty, staff, and students to be able to use online related facilities. It's very key. A number of persons are not able to use this platform that we are using. Thank God for where we are, but how many universities can boast of what you being able to do this and be able to train their students and faculty to use this? You are going to be interacting with the students, so they also need to be trained. The faculty in your university has to be trained, and online training must be established for every faculty on campus in order for us to be able to drive this. Guidance and assistance of faculty to students. Now, awareness is key. The awareness of faculty is key in this regard. The mindset needs to be changed.
Sorry, my Dean DSPS, you may need to please begin to round up because of our time and facilitators that have other assignments.
I just have the last part to just.
Yes, thank you so much.
Faculty will need to go the extra mile to assist the students in overcoming their academic challenge, as they may currently have been traumatized. And this is key. We need to assist our students wherever we feel they need help. If their project research work has to be changed in order to fit into what we are currently driving, that will not alter significantly what they are doing. Please, let's go ahead and do that for them. Now, what is Covenant doing during this lockdown? One is the engagement of, we have beginning to engage the learning management system. That is, we now use the Moodle platform for interaction, teaching, and submission of assignments by the PG students. And even by extension, the undergraduate students are currently using that also. Next is that the research and field work related here. PG students now must be able to interact closely with their supervisor. That has been our drive, because the supervisor here, depending on the stage of work you are, from coursework to proposal defense and to your post field, all of them will need the guidance of your supervisor, except that of the coursework. So for those of the students who are currently on the post field, would have to work. They have to work with their supervisors. Thesis assessment is still ongoing, and this has been done online. We have been doing we have now fully deployed our online platform for the assessment of our thesis for PhD defense before the Viva will commence. But let me state here that the Senate of Covenant University took this bold step last week to deploy all of these, particularly proposal defense for PhD, post-field defense for PhD, and that of Viva are to be done remotely, but under strict conditions that the PG school has set up here. So I want to appreciate again everyone for listening, and God bless you.
I know if time will permit my dean see you, he will spend the whole day. I know he's loaded for today. All of our participants, all of our facilitators, I know they are loaded for today. But for time factor, we have to restrict our presentations. But however, we will be expecting your submissions, your slides, your contributions to be please forwarded to DSPS, the mail at which we have been interacting. And we still explore that mail to submit or forward all of our submissions so as to inform a robust communique after this virtual meeting.
It should be done.
I know we are all applauding our presenters as they come. Remember, my registrar and vice chancellor said, Landmark University is intentional. We will never make mistakes in identifying facilitators for our intentional platform. We thank you. We'll be bringing up right away now. Please let me also remind us that our rapporteur, the Director, Center for Learning Resources, Landmark University, is already capturing the salient inputs from our facilitators. And there will be a session for him to unleash all of this so that we equally take home something that will drive our postgraduate research as faculty, as supervisors, as leaders of our universities, and of course, as students of postgraduate studies. Right away, we want to bring on board the next faculty, the next man whom we all know to be versatile with research. Of course, we are all versatile with research, but he has been identified by his university as the Director for Research, Federal University of Technology, Akure, Nigeria. He is in the person of Professor Gani Obu. Please, here before us, we have his area that he will be speaking to. As researchers, we must navigate within this period of COVID-19 lockdown and still ensure effective and impactful research, noting the time and season of research and the value add. For research, for anything in life, there is a time, there is a season. The Bible clearly supports this. And we know for those of us in our diverse fields of research, are you in engineering? Are you in agricultural sciences? Are you even in business studies? Even in sciences generally, there are seasons, there are times that you must be prompt and proactive in your research engagement. Now, Professor Gani Obu will be unleashing to us how can individual researchers explore the time and season and ensure that research does not suffer a lockdown in the lockdown season. Professor Obu, please come up on this platform and interact with us. Thank you.
Good morning, my dean.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
May I be allowed to stand on existing protocol? And the title before, research during COVID-19 lockdown. This is just an overview of my slide. I'll start a little on patients' effect on research I will speak briefly on the current situation of research in Nigeria. I'm talking of the pre-COVID-19 era. Then, how can we be productive during this lockdown? How do we conduct qualitative research? And we also look at some personal stories from some other countries. Then we cannot go to our office. There cannot be face-to-face meeting, no coffee break. In fact, you cannot even discuss new line of research in a cycle. And what is the effect on researchers? From the lockdown, the implication is that for now, we cannot have lab work. Conference cannot be carried out except the type we are doing now. Obviously, there cannot be clinical trials under this condition. There cannot be face-to-face interview. In essence, there is this decline in productivity. That's the situation we find ourselves presently. Before now, let us look at the situation of research in Nigeria. Presently in Nigeria, before the COVID-19 era, there's a lot of small or medium research going on, low turnout. Many of our research are carried out for publication's sake. Meanwhile, yet we are facing a novel challenge that will reveal our situation before now. Before now, in Nigeria, most of the research we carried out, they don't get to the commercial level. Most of them are the level of publication. As I said earlier, in most of our universities and research institutes, most of the research we carried out survey research. They are not need driven. Most time we carry out research just to advance our career without addressing a particular need. There are few inventions, in fact, few patents. Even most of the so-called patents, they are not yet commercialized. We cannot find those products in the market. That's the situation of research in Nigeria. So obviously we have to go forward in the way we do things. As I will always say, this is an era where we should be talking of translational research, need-driven research, not the business as usual. Now, we now have a situation before us under lockdown. Can we still carry out research under lockdown? What can we do as a researcher? How can you be productive as a researcher during lockdown? I'll just give you some tips. This is a good, now that you cannot visit the laboratory, this is a good time to keep yourself updated. Read wide. Go beyond your usual way of doing things. You can join in a visual event like the one that is going on. And there are some projects that you have abandoned. You can also revisit them. And this is a good time to learn new skills. Some things you have not been doing before, you can learn them. Same time, you can focus on writing. Most of those of us that are involved in administration, there are some manuscripts we can writing, we could not write, but this is a good time to write manuscripts. And you can build contacts because you have the whole time now to do that. Then we will have a practical. How do you conduct qualitative research? Qualitative research. As you know, most qualitative research involves face-to-face interaction, interviews, focus group, and field work. And in doing this, You can do it under two major ways. It can involve data generation techniques, where you generate the data, or data sampling techniques. So how do you go about this thing under lockdown? For data generation, you can use video calling, either Skype or Zoom. At the same time, you can make use of WhatsApp, or online survey. Though the result you get may not be as good as face-to-face interaction, but at the same time, you can still get some novel results. What about data sampling? Here, there are a number of issues that are coming up. Say, for instance, under this condition, there are some topical issues I've been following, either in the print media or in broadcast. Personally, I've been following the various intervention techniques that have been going on. So, as a researcher, you can be following event under print media, under a particular topic. You can also make use of your television and radio. You can be following events. You can read autobiographies. You can as well read textbooks, as well as open access quantitative archives, which some people have been involved in. To move on, I will give you some personal stories of some researchers. And for this discussion, I've chosen Italy as a case study. You know, it's one country where this issue of COVID-19 is really ravaging. Personally, I've picked interest on how the researchers in Italy, how they have been coping, especially those of us in life sciences. How have they been going on with their research under COVID-19 lockdown? The first case is the case of Marco Fiani. He's a molecular biologist and is the director of Center for Cancer Research in Milan. From the slide, you can see some of his comments. Obviously, we want to stay safe during COVID-19. At the same time, how do we go along with our research? Yes, there's a directive that there should be total lockdown. But in case of life science, when you have some ongoing work, you are dealing with some cell lines, you are about terminating your experiment, or you have spent some years doing the experiment, what do you do under this condition? Though later I will tell you my own personal experience, what I'm doing under this condition. In the lab of Marco Fiani, what they did, obviously, they have to introduce shifts to prevent crowdiness in the lab. They have to put on masks, and there should be social distancing. Those signs for those experimentalists. And as a researcher, this is the time to write your papers. And those of them that are not into experimental, those people about informatics, they don't need bench, they can do their work from home. That's one researcher. There is other researcher from Italy. Is the director of the animal care unit. What happens to the animal during lockdown? Will you slaughter all, or do you terminate experiment without finishing it? Probably you are carrying on with a diabetic experiment, hypertension, various experiments. What do you do? From their experience in this lab, because even the students will not want to even agree to terminate the experiment. They have their degree at stake. They have to introduce shifts. In that case, for the sake of social distancing, students cannot be crowded in the lab. Some may come in the morning, while some will come in the night. At least you should space out the visit to the laboratories. Apart from that, the usual things to observe, the putting on of masks and all those stuff should be observed. That is the approach in this lab, where they deal with animal. I think I have a similar situation with this fellow. I deal with animal. Then this another lab interested Italy. This fellow is not dealing with animals, so he may afford to do bulk of his research from home, from her testimony, Sylvia Nessie. In her own case, she's involved more on proposal writing. You can write new proposals to get grants, and you can be involved in video conferencing and all those things, chatting with your students. That's one of the best ways to invest this period. Then this another fellow is a molecular biologist. As a matter of fact, in this lab, they deal more with cell lines. I think I have also a little experience, though I don't deal with cell lines, but I deal with Drosophila. I use those flies for experiments. When you lock down the lab, the implication is that you will lose all your flies. And some of those flies, like in my own laboratory, some of them are transgenic flies. I got them from US and we have grown them over the years. So we will lock down the lab? No, we can't lock down the lab. What we can do is to see how we can create social distancing shift so that at least to keep the flies alive. Now, let me now go into my own personal experience. Though the first 2 weeks of lockdown, I attempted lockdown, but I have to keep my animals alive. So we have to visit lab regularly to feed our animals so that the animals will be alive. Likewise, in the Drosophila lab, we have to keep our flies alive. Then we have to create a shift. Those people that are about terminating their experiment, they were allowed to continue with their experiment. Those people that are about starting, they were not allowed. You can't start a fresh experiment. So those people were locked out, but those people that were about terminating their experiment were allowed to carry on with their experiment. And the next thing I want to speak on now is postgraduate work, postgraduate research. As I said earlier, most of those experiments, they are time bound. You have started, you have spent in a lot of money. Can you just terminate it? No, you can't terminate it. You have to work out something with your supervisor on how to visit the laboratory and to carry out the research. Those of them that are at the level of thesis writing, yes, that one they can do that back home. Or you can start writing up what you have done before. You can do some review, data analysis, but if you are on the bench, I think the system has to create a way that you can use to complete the experiment you have started, especially if you are dealing with life. For postdoc, yes, they can involve in grantmanship, writing one proposal on the other, which I do effectively under this condition. So may I conclude by saying that, yes, we have a challenging period. We must take the courage to face this period. And you can't say because there is lockdown, research will lock down. Now there's COVID-19. For example, many people have been calling on me, Professor, what are you doing about this thing? We have to develop our formulations. And we have to test it. And there's no better time to test it than this period when people miss the whole thing. So let us stop there. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Professor Gani Obo, you have said it all. We must not allow the time to lock us down. We must explore this time, explore this season, so that we still come out stronger than ever before. I believe we have all listened, and I believe we are all taking our notes. I thank God for the rapporteur of today. He's doing the work he knows how to do. This time around, my Vice Chancellor, Professor Adeni Olayanju, we want to bring up the Dean of Deans, the Chairman Committee of Deans of Postgraduate School in Nigeria, who also doubles as the Provost, School of Postgraduate Studies. In fact, UI, they call it the School of Postgraduate Studies. But I don't want to call it the School of Postgraduate Studies because it's not the only school. Landmark University is a school of postgraduate studies. So all of us, we are operating as School of Postgraduate Studies. Federal University of Akure have a School of Postgraduate Studies. My Covenant University has a School of Postgraduate Studies. So you are no longer the school. I know I also passed through that school. We have other schools. Unless we want to shift the baton now to the School of Postgraduate Studies, Landmark University. On this note, I want to welcome my Chairman, Committee of Deans of Postgraduate Studies in Nigeria, and of course, the Provost, School of Postgraduate Studies, University of Ibadan. Before I bring you up, my Chairman, there is an article online about Cambridge University moving all lectures online until 2021. This is May 2020. And if Cambridge University is considering moving all lectures online until 2021, you know what that means. They must write exams. They must conduct assessments. That is an assignment they must do as they wait for 2021 to come. Also, University of South Africa, they call it UNISA. This is a university right now. It is quoted that this university is now without physical classrooms. UNISA is now without physical classroom. So looking at these two scenarios, it therefore implies that these universities will write examinations. This university will conduct continuous assessments. For us in Nigeria, we have the component of examinations to be 30%, 70%, 30% for CAs and 70% for written examinations. These CAs can come in diverse forms. It can come in form of tests, quiz, assignment, short presentations for postgraduate studies. Now, my dean, and of course my provost, School of Postgraduate Studies, University of Ibadan. Noting all of this, how do we ensure that academic standards and integrity, we all understand academic standards and integrity are maintained, even while we embrace, while we espouse online assessments, online examinations within this COVID-19 lockdown? My provost and my chair committee of dean, right now, please take over the platform. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm very grateful for this opportunity, and I want to congratulate the university for starting this up. It's like showing leadership, and not just for your own student alone. You know, I know so many students across the country are listening to this. I'm sorry for this mix-up. When I got the letter, the title I saw is just institutional role in driving postgraduate research during national lockdown. And I'll be saying some specific things about integrity of examinations and the likes. So I'll just try and quickly go through what I have in this slide here. Okay, so I will try and be as fast as possible. I know that we have to keep the flag of postgraduate education flying in Nigeria. We've been lagging behind for a very long time, as fast as we can. We should catch up with the rest of the world. Yeah. So the reality is that when coronavirus came, it brought in a lockdown. Of course, you see this kind of future in Lagos where you have so many cars, and then later you see the old streets empty. So you have two types of things happening at the same time. And sometimes you see road blocked this way. So the lockdown itself, when it came, research has been on. You'll be seeing people reading books, but the lockdown came and blocked everything up. But the question is, should Corona actually lock down researches? That is a big question which I know we have to answer. The reality is that researches cannot be locked down. You know, this is actually an opportunity to see the new normal. We have a normal before we have been studying. This is an opportunity to see the new normal and conduct all kinds of possible researches on this new normal. There are a lot of psychological things going on, a lot of economic changes, and so many things. And therefore, we can sit down and be watching. If there's any time to do some of these researches, this is the best time. I have quite a number of friends who have published about 4 or 5 publications within this short time. So I think institutions have to make sure they key into this and are able to increase their publications as fast as possible within this short time. So research cannot be locked down, but it can be hindered. So when it is hindered, what we have to do, So what we have to do is to see what we can do. Actually, when you see the stakeholders in researches are actually students, supervisors, and institutions. So I take the institution now as the university itself. And I want to say, irrespective of whatsoever we want to do, it is safety first and safety always. The institution has to make sure that the student environment, the student university, they are safe. That is the primary thing, even before research. In addition to that, there has to be so many quick, rapid changes in policies. There has to be new policies that will have to come on. If some of the things we have been doing before, we know they can't fit into this new normal, we are now in a new environment, we have to change it. The other thing is the fact that we have to provide new guidelines. I know in Ibadan, for instance, we have provided guidelines for conducting research during COVID-19 pandemic in University of Ibadan. And I know a number of other universities have also come up with research continuity guidance during COVID-19 pandemic. So I think as a university, there must be clear laid down rules on what should be done during this time. And that is what is going to help our students to continue their researches during this period. At the same time, we have to provide regular useful information. This is not a time when the supervisor leaves the student to go away for 6 months and come back with data through information. In addition, I think this is good. We already have this ongoing now. We have this webinar support where students are brought together and we let them know exactly what is happening, what they can do, and what can be done under each condition. So when you see this person, when you look at research, the humanities can do so many things this time. For the scientists, there are little that can be done, and there are some things you cannot do at all. So for the people in the humanities, I recently got a number of WhatsApp messages saying exactly how to conduct research in humanity during COVID-19 pandemic. Well, if what you have done before is to have your face-to-face interview, just like many people have said, you can change them to online interview, you can change them, you can use Google Form, you can use quite a number of things. And I know there are a lot of researches that can be done this time around. So I want to encourage that the university has to guide students on what they can do at this time so that they make the best use of this opportunity. Because as you are thinking that you want to do something, and that some person in another place is thinking of the same thing, and the first person that publishes is the one that everybody sees as the owner of that knowledge. And you know, we have been having quite a number of problems. I'm sure the connectivity in Landmark is probably a lot better. Some of us depend essentially on Smile, Airtel, and things like that. So we need to provide dependable internet connection. dependable internet connection. So I think the universities have to make effort to make sure that this is done. And the reality is, you can sit down and do nothing. But I want to submit, the best is blended learning, where you use online to support the face-to-face. Just yesterday, I read about complaint in the UK about students saying, look, we are going to school. If we are going to pay fees, we can't just pay fees for reading these things. Many of these things we can get on our own. Some of the experiences you learn in the university, because the certificate is not just by what you, the character is also there. Some of these things are to be obtained by face-to-face interaction. So as much as possible, we have to make sure that our students that they have the best. And I want to say that the university also has to make sure that they try as much as possible to help people in the humanities to protect their human participants where necessary. They have to as much as possible. So in the sciences, the reality is that there are quite a number of things that has to be done. Only critical researches are expected now. I think Professor Obu has talked about such things. If you are just starting your research now, you can just stop it. But there are researches that are very critical. I'm conducting a nuclear reaction experiment. It has started. If you say I should leave it, then the whole place is in shambles. I'm conducting experiments that are planted. I'm monitoring things, and you say, okay, I should suddenly stop now. What happens to the whole thing? On the other hand, you have bought some enzymes, they have period that they can last, the period you can use them, and you decide to leave them, they will just be a waste. Then one other thing that is very important is the fact that we have to hasten ethical approval. No, I know many people don't know that you have to get ethical approval before researches, but now we have to make sure we find a way of hastening ethical approval. We are in race with many people. Once you consider the risk and the benefit, as fast as possible, the ethical approval should be given. And I want to say, universities should find a means of rewarding important findings and products during this period. If this is done, I'm sure that is going to bring up a number of things. Then adequate power supply and water supply. Where you may not have that problem in Landmark, I know many other universities, this is a big thing. In Ibadan, for instance, we depend on government power supply, and of course, we know how it works. So such things are also very, very necessary. I want to say that at this time, it is also important that we monitor, track, and rank and measure researches. They are very, very important. Hello.
Hello, sir. Please go ahead. Hello, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Hello, sir. Please go ahead. It's breaking from your end, Professor Jonathan.
Okay. Are working. In the last 3 months, there are. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead. Yes, we can hear you clear, okay. Loud.
In the last 3 months, there have been testing, prevention, and things like that. So those costs are there. So the institution has to make sure that their research management offices are working well now and gathering information and setting up teams, making proposals at this time. This is very, very important. And I need to say, the university has to be very, very proactive in urging chemicals. I remember in 2001, just after September 11, I went to Argentina for a research. I came back, I couldn't do anything because it was when I got there that I ordered for research for chemicals. And it was for 3 months that I was to say, and within the 3 months, I discovered that I couldn't do anything because the chemicals didn't come. So the university has to make sure that they order for their chemicals and equipment on time. Once you discover you'll be needing it, then you have to order for it on time. Then safety committee and the contamination of universities where necessary. Then I need to say this, that we have to promote indigenous research. You can't compete with the Western world doing what they are doing. They are better equipped, they have access to so many things. There are things we have here they don't have elsewhere. So let's lay more emphasis on this, and let's take this advantage and be able to overcome them. And then the university has to help in communicating results of whatsoever has been found. So I said animal subjects should be protected, and Professor Obu has spoken about this, and supervisors should be more readily available. And this is time when we should establish more collaborations. More collaborations where necessary. If somebody is doing something somewhere else, then you have to connect with other people. Let me tell you, when I check the publications of most of our people in the College of Medicine, they have publications in Nature, in Lancet, and I discovered that you have over 100 people on each of these articles. And when you look at their citation, a particular article can be cited 1,000 times. So if you get your name into that, that means the university already has 1,000 citations all at once. So the university has to make effort that to make all necessary connections and publish articles that will be globally accepted and will have more citations. Now, I will dwell a bit more on this. I know time is gone. Adoption of online fiber force, oral examination. This we have talked about it. It is important. It is important that we know that we can continue with the way we used to do things. This has to be the way forward now. Because if you do anywhere in the world, and at least in South Africa, they don't even have oral examination. They only send thesis to us, we examine, and then we send back to them whether this is okay or that we should not deceive ourselves. I want to say that it is possible. It is possible to have integrity and still have our online examinations. I'm laying more emphasis now on integrity and examination. Most LMS, learning management system, I'm more familiar with Campus, and then you have a number of other ones. So, but the online system. Can you listen? Can you hear me? Hello?
Can you hear you, sir?
Okay. So there are a number of LMS that when you use them, students can conduct assessment and you have your result almost immediately. I know that this is very possible, but the point is the online assessment is better when you are doing continuous assessment. When you are doing continuous assessment, people can bring in whatsoever. Yes, the person is making an effort, which ought to be rewarded. So that would be a very good one. That can be done. But when it comes to final examination, we probably carry 60% or 70%. I want to say that it is better to have the physical examination. Let them have. On the other hand, examinations are not just only written. You can ask them to do something sent to you, or just like it's been said, Oxford has said, okay, you can have open book examination. So if it's such, then we can look at how we can go about this. You know, in Nigeria, it is not strange. When you hear people who have PhD and you talk to them, you discover that they know nothing. How have they gotten their PhD? They bought it. They bought it because somebody else conducted the examination for them. Recently, in University of Ibadan, we had an examination just before the COVID. And this person is a director in one of the research institutes. All we guess he simply did was to get all the people who are working with him. He shared his project with them. They gathered data. He came for the examination. Inside the examination, the question was asked, how did you distinguish this one from this? He couldn't answer because he didn't do the work himself. How did you do this and this and this and this and this? He couldn't answer because he was not there. So because he was not there, we were able to detect and we said, no, this person cannot pass this examination. We said, fail. It is strange, but that is what ought to be done because our certificate needs to have integrity. So if it's just like the South African type, we say, okay, submit the thesis, we all examine and we say, oh, you have passed, and we give a degree, which ought not to have been given. So I want to say that it is possible to have online examinations that will have integrity, but it is better when it is done for continuous assessment. when you are doing the final examination, then it has to be one that is done, that everybody can see, that the person is going to get the certificate is the one that is writing the examination. So I want to thank you, and sorry for the hiccup that we have at the beginning of this lecture. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Jonathan Babalola. We have carefully listened to you. You were able to manage your time despite all of the challenges. We were able to overcome them all. I can see that some persons were actually sitting behind to support you. Please help us to appreciate your support team from your end over there.
Thank you.
My Vice Chancellor, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. We have taken the presentations of our 5 facilitators. And at this juncture, sir, we want to harvest questions, key questions, and bring them to the fore. Right here, I have about 8-10 questions, and I know some persons are right here on the platform that may want to contribute by speaking to us. We may permit 2 minutes for all of this. But while they prepare to raise their hands and we identify them and they unmute and make contributions, permit me, sir, to bring up some of these questions. My Vice Chancellor, sir, it may interest you to note that we have someone joining us from the United States of America. And she has sent in her question. Now we have number 1, Michael Agbadaola, a PhD student in physical chemistry, University of Ibadan. Michael Agbadaola in the house? Okay, the question is specifically for the Director of Academic Planning, National University Commission. My DAP, sir, I hope you are with us, and I know you are with us now and forever. Okay, research is limited and not producing expected results, even before COVID-19, due to lack of inadequate research equipment in Nigerian universities. This has greatly affected science and technology. COVID-19 has opened our eyes to the possibility of times when importation will be impossible or unadvisable. As a commission, sir, looking at national and international collaboration, sir, what is DAP doing? Don't let me say what are you doing? The question is, what are you doing? But I know the question is directed to the commission. So the question now is, what is the commission doing right now? And what plans do you have, even after COVID-19, to ensure that research gets better? Mr. Agbadaola, Michael, our PhD student, I want to believe that you joined the presentation of the Director of Academic Planning. He was able to tell us what National University Commission is doing, and in fact, in the area of research, what they are doing, and the collaborations expected of us. I don't know if you joined while the Director of Academic Planning of NUC made his presentation, but if you did not, my Vice Chancellor will permit me to allow the Director of Academic Planning, NUC, to just say a sentence within 1-2 seconds, so as to give our dear Michael Agbadaola a sense of belonging in this meeting. I'm sure he wants to hear your voice. That's why he has called your attention to this.
No
so,
problem.
Sir,
thank you very much, Dean of PG School. Let me say that apart from the presentation I made on what the NSC has been doing with respect to promoting research in the system, I believe that research is one, like we all know, of the tripartite mandate of the universities. And the one who should take full responsibility for this really is the universities. You don't want to get to a level where NUC is micromanaging the universities. And then we keep hearing the fact that you are over-regulated. Honestly, my joy would be a situation where every mandate of the university is handled appropriately by the university. Research is one of them. You talk about funding for research. They're all over the world, apart from the little we have in the country. But we see people who also get very busy year in, year out, doing one research or the other because they know how to access this funding. So it's an individual thing. If you don't get it right at that level, no matter how much you even try at the external level, it's just a drop in the ocean. So I just I advise that any school will do some part, the universities should also do their own part with respect to carrying out the mandates for what they were established for. Sorry, I'm not hearing you.
Unmute yourself.
Thank you so much.
My dear Michael, I hope you have listened. You have your role to play. University of Ibadan has her own role also to play in the area of research. And I know your take home will further empower and enhance your postgraduate research as you undertake your PhD program. We want to take the next question, and this one is coming from Ekundayo Akuma. It's also coming from University of Ibadan. As teaching resource to online means at this time, how does it cater for students with special needs? Well, this individual was not able to define students with special needs. Are you looking in terms of research tools, equipment? Are you looking in terms of challenges, physical challenges? Are you looking in terms of material challenges, financial challenges? All of these, there are diverse definitions of special needs. I don't know if you are able to define your special needs so that we know who to address the question to. So, my dear Ekundaya Akuma, Information Science, University of Ibadan, are you able to define your special needs? You can send a chat immediately so that we know how to address this question. Another one is from Ekute B.O., also from University of Ibadan, and he has sent to say, we designed an evaluation form to be filled by all participants. I have sent it to the Vice Chancellor for approval, and he has given me his go-ahead. Well, if you have sent it to my Vice Chancellor and he has given you the go-ahead, I think you need to go ahead. I'm sure you have been taken. That has been taken. The next one now we want to take, my Vice Chancellor, sir, this is coming from one Dr. Akindele Bamidele from the United States of America. She said, I have listened carefully to all of these presentations, and I'm glad to note that Landmark University, going through your website attracted me to join this webinar, and I know you are driving agriculture. Now, the question I have is this. Considering the various information so far provided, how is Landmark University ready to enhance agricultural research following this COVID-19? My Vice Chancellor, Landmark University, this is for you.
Thank you, DSPS. I want to appreciate the sender of that question.
Dr. Akindele.
Akindele?
Yes, sir.
It's as if she has sneaked into my rapport. What I was going to say under take home. But now that she has brought it forth, let me quickly address it. And we will look at it from this end. If you look at what we are passing through now, it's as a result of what happened in 2019, COVID-19. And the thinking now is, because of the lockdown, we are not really going into serious agricultural production. And so the thinking or the prayer is that I only hope, or that we hope, we will not leave COVID-19 to 20. And when we talk of 20, we are talking of UNGA 20, which effect will be more pronounced in 2021. And if we are going to avert 20, then we need to get involved in serious agricultural mechanization, mass production of crops. And now, to be specific, what is Landmark University doing? It may interest you to know, Dr. Kundele, that Landmark University is the only private university of agriculture in Nigeria. There are 3 other universities of agriculture, but they are at the federal level. And so, Landmark University, from onset, right from the vision that is catch out for us, is to be a world-class, a leading world-class university by catching a niche of spearheading an agrarian revolution. In fact, our motto is breaking new ground. And so what have we been doing? By privilege of my training, I'm a professor of agricultural mechanization. Coincidentally, the Dean of School of Postgraduate Studies is also an agrarian woman. And so the university has been involved in serious production of food because it was the chancellor of this great university that once told us that food security is a necessity. It is not an ideology. To think otherwise will be amounting to insanity. And so, if embedded in our vision is to feed the African race, then the thinking is, can we first of all start from landmark environment, our immediate community? And so we have engaged in both crop production and animal production. For lack of time, as we speak today, Landmark University grows our own rice. We don't stop at that. We go ahead also to process the rice. We have a complete rice processing plant. We have a complete cassava processing plant. We have a vegetable oil processing plant. Now looking at the animal side, we have a 40 capacity pen layer that produces crates of egg. In fact, as a result of lockdown, the challenges we are facing now is not that we are not producing, but the challenge is we now have gluts of our products. As we speak now, we are thinking of where to take our eggs to. We are thinking of even going as far as Onitsha in the east. So we have produced, but the lockdown is also affecting. And just like some of the presenters have said, it is now that we also need to look at some of the policies that we have on ground. And I think because of time, we will still get back to you. But to say that Landmark University is prepared, we have a lot of initiatives that we have put in place. We have hydroponic technology. You know, the youth are also running away from agric. How do we now entice them to first of all embrace agric in a situation or in a way that they will still be using their heart, but yet they will be practicing farming? That's what we have been engaging, using hydroponic technologies. So we have some of these initiatives that you will find that, in fact, there are a lot of short videos on what we have been doing as a university. Let me stop there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, my Vice Chancellor. But my VC, sir, permit me to add this to that individual's question. My VC, recall that about a month ago, you flagged an online agrarian revolution team that are currently appraising how we can maximize even the lockdown and ensure that our production is still in high quantum. Recall that you led us to meet, to have not less than 3 meetings and supported with a virtual meeting, assessing production and productivity, even in the midst of the lockdown. So this is what the Landmark University platform is also doing currently, even in this lockdown, to ensure that our agrarian drive is on track. Having made these additions, permit me to take another question from a student, a PhD student also, who is looking at conducting COVID-19 research. Some ethical approval in the face of lockdown is essential. Is essential. And the question now is, how can one go out there? Could there be possibility of issuing official documents supporting online data collection? Professor Obo, this question is directed to you, sir. How can students, PhD students, go on in the area of ethical approvals, looking at the possibility of issuing official documents supporting online data collection? Is there any approval that can support this, looking at policies and research? Professor Obo?
Thank you, my dean.
Yes, sir.
My response to that question is simple. I know most universities now in Nigeria have ethical committee, and they have their forms. Based on the type of request, that will determine the response. Actually, I have one in my center, and during this lockdown, people have been submitting application forms for ethical approval. The nature and manner of research will determine if the ethical approval can be given now or later. If it's the one that will require a rigorous evaluation, the entire committee could meet. Or if it's the one that will not require a rigorous evaluation, the application could be sent to 2 or 3 members of the committee to assess. So it depends on the particular request in question. So that one will determine if the thing can be given during this lockdown or not.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. Can we quickly take the one from one of our postgraduate students here in Landmark University, Clinton Okonkwo, a postgraduate student in the College of Engineering. We still have challenges with postgraduate research in Nigeria, especially in the area of laboratory analysis. This is due to lack of research equipment and tools. How can NUC Commission support not only federal university, but private university with respect to research funding? Well, permit me to say that the Dean College of Engineering asked a question in this direction. And I know the Director of Academic Planning has provided a support to Landmark University, saying that we can come up with our proposals as much as it fits into the objectives of what research niche being driven by NUC, it will receive support. My Director, Academic Planning, NUC, do I have your part of my back for this?
I was just going to commend you for bailing me out. Thank you very much, man. You answered my question. I answered the question very well.
Go ahead, yes.
We take up the other questions now, and that is on a faster note now. We'll be looking at Professor Tunde Ajiboye now. We have one of us also, Tunde Ajiboye. He's asking Professor Obo. He said, what is FUTA Postgraduate School doing to allow postgraduate students who are actually expected to defend their thesis. Looking at this lockdown and having listened to submissions from the Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies, Covenant University, espousing online thesis examinations. My Director of Research, Federal University of Technology, Akure, Professor Obo, please respond.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that's a simple question. For FUTA, officially we are on strike, the academic staff, so there cannot be any exam. So, no, lockdown is a different issue. The issue of exam, when so that's so that for FUTA there cannot be any exam now. Why we are officially on strike? At least academic staff are on strike.
Okay. Because I was going to ask, sir, is it possible for our Nigerian universities to adopt the presentation of the Dean School of Postgraduate Studies, Covenant University, Professor Abiodun? And I know, I said I'll bring my Director of Academic Planning up for this later on. Looking at policies, ordinances, guiding, academic protocols with respect to defense. What is the take of NUC in this regard?
Thank you very much, Dean PG School. If you recall, I mentioned the fact that a lot of things will change after this pandemic is
yes,
gone.
Yes, sir. I remember, sir.
This will also include policies. I mean, I love the presentation Professor Obo made with respect to citing example on a university that conducts its own defense online. I critically think, looking at it, there's really nothing wrong doing that if you have the facility to do that. Because think about it, what process do you go through when it's face-to-face as to when you are doing it online? So the difference is not that much, except for the fact that facilities need to be in place. Yes. My only concern will be for students who are not in areas where they have access to facilities that will enable them to join online discussions like that. Somebody in his village, for instance, it's not everywhere you go to in Nigeria you find internet facilities, connectivity like that. So if we're able to take care of the environment that is conducive for online deployment, I don't have any problem with that, personally. And I believe that eventually policies are made by human beings. They will look at the need to amend such policies, and some of these things will change after this pandemic is come and gone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That means Nigerian universities, including private universities, we will be expecting NUC to roll out a modality in the name of ordinances and policies driving online oral defense. Online oral defense. Thank you so much. And this question is also coming from Atiabong Imo. Atiabong Imo. Well, this platform, I don't think we need to flag ASU, and all of that. But I just want to recognize you, Atiabong Imo, because you're a postgraduate student, and I appreciate that you're on this platform from your university, and you are looking at how to mediate between ASU and the current, crisis with Nigerian universities. And I don't know if the Director of Academic Planning, like you have said, you are directing it to him. I don't know if he's able to speak to this.
Well,
Director of Academic Planning.
Yes, ma'am. The only thing I can say here is that discussions are ongoing between ASU and government, and they are familiar partners. I believe that eventually the issues will be resolved amicably. That's just the only comment I can make there.
That's great. That's great.
Thank you so much, sir. More of the questions is just appreciating Landmark University platform for creating, I can see 4, 5, 6 questions, appreciating Landmark University platform for creating this webinar for postgraduate students. They are saying that they have taken something from it. And let me take this one more before we move to the next item. Before we take the Dean Covenant University Postgraduate School, let me take this one from our participants. He's talking about problem-solving research, that is, driving problem-solving in research. And then, how can postgraduate students achieve 100% problem-solving research without grants? Without grants. Professor Obu, I know this, you will take delight in answering this because I know you have loads of these grants. Is it possible to drive 100% research without grants?
I think my answer will be yes and no. Yes and no. I will give you the reason. Actually, we don't only expect students to be 100% involved in grantmanship. Although there are some grant opportunities for PG students. I know IFS, International Foundation of Science, promotes more of graduate grantmanship. So as a PhD student, you can package your proposal to get grant. And obviously, most of those grants, I think the one IFS gives is more on applied research. And some of them should be problem or need-driven research. Why the aspect of no, for you to do a good job without grant may be difficult. So when it comes to graduate supervision, both the student and the supervisor should be in the business of searching for money to drive the research. Take for instance, what I do in my lab most time, one of the ways I assess the quality of my proposal or my student project is to put them out for fund. So any good proposal should be able to attract fund. So for a student trying to do a need-driven research, I think the business of searching for fund is for both the supervisor and the student. There are some where students will be given preference, which I know something like IFS, even TWAS, though Nigeria was removed recently from TWAS, but I know there are a number of bodies that fund students' projects. So that's just my take on that. But that's why I said it should be yes or no. Yes, it's possible if the supervisor can help him to get fund. And if the student can go out to look for fund. But if there is no fund, it will be difficult. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for the response, Professor Obo. The Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies, Covenant University, has his hands up. I know he wants to make contributions. My Dean, before you come up on this virtual space, I want you to add the issue of standards and integrity. If you are looking at online assessments, I mean, what is the take of Covenant University? How are you able to protect standards and integrity in online assessments?
Yeah, thank you so much, the Dean School of Postgraduate Studies, Landmark, for bringing me on board again. I have listened carefully to all presentations, and must say here that I've learned something here from all of the presentations from the other facilitators. Now, we are going to maintain the sanctity, that is, the sanctity and integrity of examination processes will never be compromised, because this is, when you talk about oral defense, you are talking of face-to-face. Now, What are these? We are spelled out in our guidelines. A student who will be allowed to take this exam, perhaps a Viva, for instance, must get an ID location. What makes for an ID location? One, you must get a location where the internet connectivity is very strong. Two, you must also test for the quality of connections prior to the examination, maybe 2-3 days to the examination, with some of our support staff here who will check to be sure and to approve if we can still go ahead with such exams. Yes, there could be some interruption here and there during the presentation. For instance, I remember when Professor Babalola was making his presentation, before he came on board, obviously he had internet, he had connectivity issue. Audio was not coming up. In that wise, we had also, as part of our guidelines, requested that students must have another backup on ground. So you are not just going to depend on this alone. You must have another backup. If, for instance, you are on MTN line and the connection there's a downtime in the connection, you switch over to maybe Glo. So the student who is set for such exam, those guidelines are appropriate. Then if where we need to turn, for instance, maybe there is a break in connectivity. For instance, we are not hearing you clearly, like we have observed in this, while one of the facilitators was presenting. It's for the candidate, we can ask the candidates by the examination rule to turn off the video. Yes, we have seen what you are doing, but continue with your presentation, but turn off the video for now until we have a more stable connection when you switch on the video back again. Now, that's backup. And I must also state here that even the candidate whose work was published in Nature on how to defend remotely, that I shared earlier on, Alisa Frederick, she also explained in her report that she also had some downtime, that all she did was to also had some backups. Her supervisor, one of the examiners, who went on sabbatical in another university, joined remotely. While she was in another university where she was doing her postdoc, joined remotely also. Did the connection remotely, then the examiners and the panelists were in the same place. Those who were around were in the same place.
My dean, we are really running out of time.
All right.
And we are really running out of time.
So
just one last sentence. One last sentence.
All right.
Can I just add something to that?
Okay, sir.
What you said. I remember.
That is my provost. Is that my provost?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Go ahead, sir.
I remember about 7 years. A university in Sweden wrote us that there's a candidate and all they wanted is the candidate to come to our university, not our students. They trust us. Then the exam was conducted here at University of Ibadan for the candidate in Sweden. So we were able to see the student that he was just talking to them, not somebody else was not talking to him and things like that. So when there are people you can share integrity with that way, the exam can be conducted while they were there, and then everything will still be okay. Then about PhD students conducting research and bringing out final products, we don't need to deceive ourselves. Most products take a long time before they actually come out. Most researchers who come out with things that endure for long must have done it over years with various PhD students. So the best thing is when a student comes, he does a component of the work, another one comes, continue the same one, and then eventually.
Have you been using Zoom?
To come out with something that is well defined. So it may be too much of expectation if a student that is going to have high impact, because he might have to spend more than the expected number of years on his project. The thing is that he can do part of it for a PhD and then continue with a postdoc on the same thing. Thank you.
I appreciate your input right away. You are looking at sharing institutional platforms to support online examination. And honestly,
Yes.
this is something we must encourage, especially in a Nigerian context. And thank God DAP is also here. We can maximize our institutional platforms to support candidate students from across Nigerian universities for online examinations. Instead of, I recall sometimes in one of the webinar examinations, there was this one, you have to install a camera. And that camera must be accessible to your examiner somewhere. And all of these are cost effective, looking at students, going through all of this. So we must see how we can explore our institutional base to form collaborations during examinations. Thank you so much. My Vice Chancellor, sir, we are gradually getting to the end of it. I know it has been cascading. It has been really cascading. Individuals bringing up their inputs in this webinar discourse. I'm sure before we move on to the next item, we have captured all the questions before us. In case you still have some other questions, you have the privilege of writing and sending it in as a chat. And the Vice Chancellor, the Registrar, and I will respond to your questions privately. Where we cannot, we will explore our facilitators platform. They will return to you with questions. Just ensure you put your contact details there, your email, even WhatsApp, any of the social media. We'll explore that to respond to your puzzles, concerns, questions, even after this platform is shut down. Right now, we have to bring up our rapporteur. We have an articulate rapporteur in the university, Dr. Nwozo Agaptos, who incidentally is the current acting director, Center for Learning Resources, Landmark University. The rapporteur for today, sir, Dr. Nwozo, are you ready for us?
Yes.
Thank you so much. So you have the floor right now.
Thank you, the Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies, Landmark University, the Vice Chancellor, Landmark University, the Registrar, Landmark University, all other protocols duly observed. This is a summary of deliberations today. The theme of today's webinar is COVID-19 and lockdown consequences on postgraduate research. And we have as our facilitators 5 distinguished and eminent scholars. Dr. Noel Biodun Saliu, Director of Academic Planning, National Universities Commission. Professor Kayode Adeke, the immediate Deputy Vice Chancellor, Redeemers University, Ede. The third facilitator, Professor Abiodun Adebayo. I beg your pardon?
Go ahead.
The third facilitator, Professor Abiodun Adebayo, the Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies, Covenant University. The fourth facilitator, Professor Gani Obo, Director of Research, Federal University of Technology, Akure. And then the fifth facilitator, Professor Jonathan Babalola, Provost, the School of Postgraduate Studies, and Chairman, Committee of Deans of Postgraduate Studies. Now, the Registrar Landmark University emphasized that Landmark University is poised to adopt and adapt to the new normal fostered on the world by COVID-19 by intentionally incorporating new technologies that will facilitate new trends in teaching, learning, and research. The Vice Chancellor of Landmark University said that the reality unleashed by COVID-19 pandemic has provoked the interrogation of the appropriateness and strategies of conducting research in Nigeria and the world at large. He expressed hope that the facilitators would provide tangible contributions in expounding the frontiers of knowledge through new ways of approaching research, and then bring about new take-home strategies that will enable to the adaptation of this new normal. The key issues that the facilitators raised would include the fact that all the facilitators agree that COVID-19 requires a new formula and operational modus operandi in PG research. The platform also established that NUC is still alive to its mandate of overseeing the orderly development of university education. The NUC has established platforms for collaborations in order to foster coordinated research. The NUC also has established some consortia, especially the NUC, TED Fund, NCDC, and other stakeholders research consortium, which of course provides platform for all universities in Nigeria, about 173 universities in Nigeria, including private universities, to be part of these new interventionist COVID-19 research initiatives. Today's platform also established that solution to COVID-19 pandemic can only come from research. Therefore, COVID-19 pandemic should not and must not stop postgraduate research. And that postgraduate research should be anchored on safety first and safety always. The webinar also established that there is need for institutional role, and then such institutional roles would include paradigm shifts in terms of transiting to the use of ICT for teaching, learning, and research. Then there is also the need for the review of PG protocols in line with the new normal fostered by COVID-19 pandemic. Another part of the institutional role is the need to create research collaborations and linkages. Another one established by this platform today is the need for various institutions to release palliatives to students and staff, especially through data subsidization to facilitate online contacts and engagements. Today's platform also evolved new strategies that could ensure the continuity of PG research. And one of such strategies is the development of proactive measures in terms of designing new ways to deal with PG research in the face of COVID-19 pandemic. And one of such proactive steps would include the development of robust online platforms for thesis defense, supervisor-supervisee interactions, and of course, the adoption of video conferencing for oral examination and assessment. Today's webinar also established the need for the continuity of PG research, and such the strategies that could be adopted by both PG students and their supervisors, would include keeping, remaining updated on trends in their various disciplines and areas of interest, attending virtual events, learning new skills, building connections, and revisiting shelved projects. These are the ways established by today's facilitators on our webinar as ways that could be deployed to ensure the continuity of PG research. Today's platform also established the need to engage new research tools in the face of various lockdowns. In terms of data generation, the platform established that researchers can make use of video conferencing platforms, text-based instant messaging platforms, online survey platforms, to generate data. And then, of course, researchers can also sample data through the print media broadcast media, published blogs, and online groups. Today's facilitators also agreed that ongoing work in various laboratories must continue, provided safety measures are put in place. Such world-class precautionary measures listed include running shifts in the laboratory in order to achieve social distancing, use of face masks, and working overnight. The facilitators also point out on the need to engage in translational research, that is, research that will be socially relevant and commercially viable. Emphasis was laid on the poor quality of research churned out by universities in Nigeria today. Most of these researches have no commercial value except for the purpose of advancement in careers. And then emphasis was also laid on the lack of revolutionary and innovative research outputs across Nigeria and the need for this to change by through collaborations and linkages. And emphasis was also laid on the need to pursue and win grants to be able to do or carry out credible and world-class researches. The platform also agreed that online assessments and examinations are feasible, but new protocols must be evolved to ensure the integrity of the processes. And some of those protocols listed include the need for secure internet connectivity, and then the need to provide backup in case there is a technical failure. There is also emphasis on shared institutional integrity as part of strategies to ensure the sanctity and integrity of online assessments and examinations. The emphasis was also made on the need for government and universities to invest on the deployment of IC facilities in order to adapt to the new normal fostered by COVID-19 pandemic. Then lastly, the facilitators believe that new policies or ordinances would definitely emerge from the experience of COVID-19 to change the face of PG research, and that universities must brace up to these new changes in order to be relevant globally. Thank you, my Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies. That's a summary of today's webinar as captured by the rapporteur team. Thank you, ma'am.
You will all agree with me that Landmark University will ever remain intentional in choices. Dr. Nwozo Agaptos, you covered it all. And I believe this communique, with the approval of the Vice Chancellor, will be circulated. But however, you will still wait to pick the Vice Chancellor's wrap-up and use that to summarize your communique. We are gradually running to the end of today. And you know, the Yorubas will say, permit me to say this, Egunla Moskenyigbale. I don't know how to say it. But I know the Vice Chancellor will come up to do the needful. Before my Vice Chancellor comes up, there is someone as big, do I say big or bigger in terms of tenure, in terms of, everything, let me put it that way. There's someone beside my Vice Chancellor who is the son of Ataye Robi Agogo, the son of the prophet, the son of God himself, the one who is there live and direct with the power source. Do I call him the Otun of source now? There is a title in Yoruba land, especially from Ife. They call it Otun of source. So the Otun of source in today's webinar is the son of Ataye Robi Agogo, Professor A. Atayero. I am greatly humbled to have my Vice Chancellor be part of this first webinar drive from the School of Postgraduate Studies. I am not, let me follow a quote from my Vice Chancellor, from the Chancellor Landmark University. I will not be surprised that you are here. If you are not here, I would have been much more surprised. Why do I say this? Your brother is here. Why will you not be here? And that is the Vice Chancellor, Landmark University. I will not bring you up. My Vice Chancellor, sir, Professor Adeni Itajude Olayanju, just take up the rest of these few moments as you do whatever you wish with my Vice Chancellor, Covenant University. My Vice Chancellor, sir.
Thank you, the Dean School of Postgraduate Studies. You know, as you are reeling out those words, my head was swelling up. And that's the big brother covenant we are talking about here, Professor Atayero Biadogo. Covenant University, Landmark University. As a matter of fact, today we have a saying in Landmark University that whatever make Covenant University, we want it and we want more. So it is Landmark University, CU+. Landmark University, Covenant University Plus.
Hallelujah.
We thank God for what God is doing in our sister university, Covenant University, in the area of research engagement and publication drive. Innovative, that has been intentional and translational. Let me quickly say that Professor Atayero has been part of this webinar, but he has to also go for another meeting. I would have loved us to hear from him, but you know that the whole of Covenant University is almost here. The Dean School of Postgraduate Studies has fully represented our big sister university, Covenant University. And on behalf of Professor Atayero, I want to appreciate the Covenant University contest and everyone that has been part of this platform. Having said that, what a day, what a joy, what a time well spent, what a fruitful deliberations. Permit me to quote from the Holy Bible, Ecclesiastes 9, verse 11 says, "And I returned, and I saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill. But what? Time and chance happen to them all."
Yes, yes.
Who would have thought the whole world would be humbled by just a pandemic, COVID-19? And so, on this note, I want to appreciate all our facilitators for quality delivery. You took your time to do research, because it takes somebody that does research seriously to give us this kind of delivery. And so from the Landmark University contest, and also on behalf of our Chancellor, Dr. David Olaniyi, we want to really appreciate all the facilitators, starting with the representative of his academic excellence. At the Vice Chancellor's meeting, we have this title for his National University Commission, and that is his academic excellence, HAE. Fully represented here today by Dr. Noel Sally. We really want to thank you. To say that our regulator is part of this, we cannot but say a very big thank you. And of course, the immediate past Deputy Vice Chancellor of Redeemer University, Professor Adekeye, thank you very much. We really appreciate you. We also want to appreciate the Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies, Covenant University, our own amiable Pastor Professor Biodun. We really thank you, sir, for being part of this great epoch-making event. And of course, the DSPS has said it. When somebody is fast, we talk about publication. This is not the first time he'll be coming to Landmark University. He has been here before. Now he's here virtually. And that is Professor Gani Bobo, that has over 300 publications.
Yes.
I think in Scopus in his study. And so we want to appreciate you, sir, the Director of Research, Federal University of Technology, Akure. And of course, to my own alma mater, the university. Don't mind the Dean. The postgraduate school. Landmark is coming. We are testing you. Covenant, already you know what Covenant is doing with University of Ibadan. Covenant today, talk of the first in Nigeria, talk of first in West Africa, talk of the first 4 or 5 in Africa. So what are we saying? That UI still be the postgraduate, but they should not sleep. They should not be locked down because Landmark is coming. We have said we don't just want to be Covenant University. We want to be Covenant University Plus. So if Covenant has beaten UI to it, you can be rest assured that Landmark is coming. But it's a good competition. Prof, we really appreciate you, sir. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you.
Having said that,
thank you, sir.
I think we ought to appreciate the Dean, School of Postgraduate Studies. Ma,
yes,
I know you for this.
Thank you, sir.
Driver. The
Thank
passion
you, sir.
is always there.
Thank you, sir.
Here in office 2017, 18, I can never forget. We were knitted together when it comes to agrarian revolution.
Yes, sir.
I'm surprised that we are doing that even at graduate level. We will get there. We will get there. What we need is just good neighborliness. And that is what UI has brought. That is what Covenant has done today. That is what FUTA has done. That is what the Director of Academic Planning has brought from NUC to also make sure that we are part of this. We really want to thank you and we appreciate you. The Landmark University community, we are the hosts. We just want to thank everybody that has been part of this. Now, there are 3 take-homes that we have from all of this. And just like DSPS said, and we love this to be part of our community. And the 3 take-home are for the following set of people or group. The first one is for our government and industries. The second one is for our postgraduate students. And of course, the third one is for us as African and by extension, the global community. When I talk of industry and government, we have been talking of research, and from the presentations of all the facilitators, you will agree with me that it takes serious funding to do quality research. And so when you do quality research, what that one will do for you is to bring up knowledge. Quality research will generate knowledge. And what will knowledge give us? Knowledge will lead to invention. And when process, it will go on to innovation. And when you have innovation, what you are going to have is both economic and national development. Remember, research and development, R&D. It's not even research and development now. It is research for development. It is also research for deployment. And so what we are saying is that when you now have economic and national development, then you'll be able to have enough fund again to fund the research. So it is a cycle. And so we are calling out to those industries, especially the foreign companies. You see, when you do research, most of the time you don't get it at once. Somebody said lightly, that why do you think they named that product 7-Up? He said the man was down 6 times when doing the research. But at the 7th time, he got it right. And he said, wow, like Eureka. He said 7-Up, the 7th time, I am up. And so, foreign companies, government agencies should fund research. But this cannot be done without looking at what is called the tricycle of development. If you know what a tricycle is, there is a front wheel and there are 2 wheels at the back. The front wheel in this case is the government. The back wheel, the 2 back wheels, we are talking of universities and research institutes that are driving research on one hand, and we are talking of industry on the other hand. No industry will want to put money into research anyhow. And most of our researches, most of the time, will end up on the shelf. So who will force us to work together? It is the regulatory body. He has to come in. Government has to come in. And also to take this further, there is also this issue of TED fund. There is the issue of the presidential task force. Look at, we are looking for solution to COVID-19. It's a form of set of researches. Now, like the DAP NUC said, fund is being released. By the time the solution is gotten, like what is happening to Madagascar now, you will notice that fund, cool money, is going back to that small nation as a result of their research involvement. As a result of the finding that they have. How much of that are we doing? So it is a new normal. TED fund must not edge out private universities from our funding. No, we have to change. It was God's servant that once said, the chancellor of this great university, that if you don't know where you are going, every other place will look like it. And it is also not too late to turn when you know you are on a wrong road or a wrong path. I love the way you used to say it. Acha, acha, that means go, go, go. That you have missed road, you need to go back. And that is it. As a nation, we need to look at that. For our postgraduate students, joining from Landmark University, from Covenant, from all walks of life, let me quickly say this. It is high time we embrace what is called the KSA concept. Yes. What does the KSA concept teaches? K is for knowledge, S is for skill, A is for attitude. All that we have been doing in the past 3.5 hours now is imparting knowledge on you. But you know that is not enough. Like it is enshrined in Covenant and Landmark University and departing from knowledge to empowerment. How do you empower yourself? So in other words, faculty, lecturers, supervisors, we can only impart knowledge on you. That is the best we can do. It takes you to acquire skill. In this day and time, it is what you can use your hand to do that matters at the end of the day. Permit me to quickly say this. At the covenant hour of prayer for our church, there was a testimony of a 24-year-old boy. 24-year-old What did he do? Agricultural app for delivering food to homes and millions of naira. Grants, like our facilitators have said, they are all over the place. It is you that need to wake up. And that will lead us to the third letter, A. Thank God for knowledge. Thank God much more for the skill that you are going to acquire. But better still, you need the right attitude. We need to depart from the popular song, Dangote Olori Meji, èmi náà fẹ́ gun range. How many of you are ready to do what Dangote of this world have done? So, as postgraduate students, which you also know, that is where serious research or researches can be done. It is at that level, whether at PhD, master, or PhD level. So we need to change our attitude. We need to do that. And finally, we need to now African and the global community. The take home for us as African, the take home by extension for the global community is part of what I said the other time while answering Dr. Akindele's question on this platform. The truth of the matter is, most of our attentions are on how to solve the problem of COVID-19. But we are forgetting, like I said, that man must eat. SDG 1, no poverty. SDG 2, zero hunger. Are we putting our attention towards mass production of food? We need to look at that as a nation. We look at that as a continent and by extension the global community. So that in 2021, we will not be challenged with on 20. And I want to submit that it is high time that we call stakeholders meetings. Agricultural universities, there are 3 of them. Thank God, Landmark University is the only private university of agriculture in Nigeria today. It should be part of that. We have state colleges of agriculture. Thank God, Professor J.G. Adewale, the immediate provost of your State College of Agriculture in Igbora, where I did my sabbatical and I was a pioneer then, is also on this platform. Those are the people that we should call. The institutions, the Harris Agricultural Research Institutes, National Center for Agricultural Mechanization, for serious mechanization of our farm products. Now, billions of naira have been released. How many agricultural engineers? How many engineers? How many agriculturists? How many biotechnologists? Those in the sciences, how many of them are part of the people spending the money now? I think this is the take-home for us. As a nation, we must do it right. Before we know it, I hope they will not blow that money. Because if you don't put a round peg in a round hole, you will never get results. Only an insane man will be doing the same thing the same way and be expecting a different result. As a nation, we must address the issue of food security. If we don't want another pandemic post-COVID. Having said that, I think once again, I want to seriously thank the organizer of this webinar. And of course, the Dean School of Postgraduate Studies, Professor Charity Allen, for leading that team. And for Landmark University, for bearing our name, spearheading agrarian revolution through exploration of hidden treasures in the mother heart. Thereby, that's the sole objective, restoring the dignity of the Black race. That is what God's servant, the Chancellor of this great university, has in mind for at the establishment of Landmark. We must, as a university, go by our motto, breaking new ground. We have done that by this webinar. Can we also come together and do it by revolutionizing agriculture in our university, in our environment, in our nation, Nigeria? Once again, I want to appreciate everybody. Even as I said, come down with us in Landmark University. We are ready to do you well because God has spoken good concerning us. Thank you and God bless. I want to say to God alone be the glory. Can you take that song with me? To God alone be the glory. All the glory. All the glory. All the glory be unto the Lord.
Okay.
All the
glory must be to the Lord, for He is worthy of our praise. No man, none should give glory to himself.
All the glory must be to the Lord.
My Vice Chancellor, sir, thank you for that wrap-up. It is insightful. And I believe we are running with all of this already. And our postgraduate students, you are charged by this first webinar of the school and the wrap-up of the Vice Chancellor. You are already good to go in the area of your research. Permit me to announce now that the evaluation form is already on this chart. It's just a 2 minutes attention. Please take your time to look at this evaluation form. Your emails will be harvested from your responses and we'll be good to go. So make this as part of your take home from this platform today. Pick up the evaluation form, assess it, and evaluate and return. God bless you as you do this. As we begin to round up finally, we have the Dean School of Postgraduate Studies, Covenant University, to give us the closing prayer. After that, we take the final announcement. Dean School of Postgraduate Studies, Covenant University, Professor Abiodun Adebayo.
Please let's rise as we take the closing prayer. Our Heavenly Father, we appreciate you. We give you all the glory. We give you all the honor. Even for everyone, particularly your university, even Landmark University. Thank you for this first hour. And these are prayer. All of the knowledge that have been communicated today, we pray advancing Landmark University program in Jesus Christ. We pray that COVID-19 and in the name of Jesus Christ. Lord, to everyone who has facilitated, everyone facilitator, we ask for more wisdom, more knowledge upon each one in the name of Jesus Christ. Graduates, Landmark, we pray each one will be blessed even in their research. We pray for that research breakthrough that will turn the destiny of Nigeria, the destiny of our nation, will also emanate from laying the We pray in the name of Jesus concerning the movement, ably led, for more wisdom. And national university, the umbrella that and Lord Jesus, will guide university education, the right direction, started upon that body. Again, we thank you. Thank you and thank you. Because you know that many more not making history also emanate from landmark. Father, again, we thank you. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Amen. To our participants, we appreciate you for being part of this meeting, but especially to our facilitators. You can please find your way to the college building. We will convey you from there to the Vice Chancellor's office. There you will be refreshed.
Actually.
But however, the Vice Chancellor has approved that you will be refreshed in your various places, and he has made provisions for that. Okay, so await something to drop for us from the management of Landmark University for being part of this. Thank you so much. If you cannot wait downstairs go to the Vice Chancellor's office, await something for you. On this note, I request that we log out of this meeting. Thank you. See you some other time. Bye. Can you wave your hand and say bye-bye? Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.